sit beside me if you want.
Yes.
Just give me one seat.
the 11th hour, its 11th minute, on the 11th day of the 11th month, the Great War, the war to end all wars, in other words, World War I, came to an end. Today we remember that day in 1918, and we know sadly that war did not end on that day and at that minute. We gather here today to celebrate those veterans who came home from the many wars that seemingly have fought continuously since that day in 1918. We are assembled here as veterans, guests, and school staff and students to honor all who have served and are serving. I am Jay Mickelson, a teacher of Latin, mythology, German, and Western civilization here at Briggs High School, representing the staff and the students.
And I am Phil Clements, commander of the American Legion Post 8, representing all the veterans organizations in the Pierre, Fort Pierre area. We will serve as your master of ceremony here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand respectively if you are able. All those that are a member of military and veterans organizations, please render proper respect to our flag and remove your headgear at the conclusion of the posting of the colors. Color guard, advance and post the colors.
We shall now join in the national anthem. The fourth verse, which is printed, well, it isn't printed on your program, it will be on the screen, will first be sung by the choir. Notice how appropriate its words are for Veterans Day. Then we shall all join in with the band and the chorus by singing the first verse that we all know. When we are finished, as beautiful as it might have been, international etiquette says we should not applaud. Let's just quietly think about what we have just sung.
Oh, and sisters, let us pray. Lord our God and giver of the flame of freedom and human dignity that has burned since the dawn of human history, on this important day when we as a nation pause to honor those who have served, we remember that from the lush hills of Lexington and Concord to the dusty hills of Iraq and Afghanistan, these men and women have formed one unbroken line. A line which declares in duty and honor and blood that the ideals upon which we stand as a nation, liberty, freedom, equality, dignity, must be defended to be cherished, must be defended to be extended to all. To those men and women who raised their hand, who swore to preserve and protect these ideals, who sacrificed their youth, their comfort, their individualism, and some even life itself, we offer thanks. And on this day, we honor them in the best of ways by begging you, Lord, to grant us peace. Amen.
I wish to thank my dear friends, Ms. Rothbard, Mr. Larry Johnson, as well as the fine musical groups made up here of students and community members for their excellent prelude music and the national anthem. Commander Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Mickelson. I wish to thank VFW Post 2038 for being our color guard today and leading this ceremony. These veterans are Odine Solberg, Harry Simmons, Andy Dice, and Seb Axman, They had the help of the United States Marine, Lance Corporal Gregg, Sergeant Fife, and Sergeant Campbell, and the National Guard, Private Daley Beck, and Private First Class Tim First. The Civil Air Patrol Cadets, Margot Pearson, Brant Malford, and Hannah Becker, and the Boy Scouts, Josh Slocum and Nathan Remick. All of the peer area, we've all done an impressive job. Thank you.
Lakota, Dakota, and Dakota cultures, the warrior is an important figure in society. Many from the tribes of the Upper Plains have volunteered for their services, and many have paid the ultimate price, the sacrifice, for the land that we all love.
This year, we have a wonderful new feature of the Veterans Day Assembly. Sid Badmoccasin will sing the Native American flag harmony song. The translation of which begins, "The President's flag will stand forever. Under it, the people will grow, so I do this."
Hey,
Thank you for that moving tribute to our flag. Audience, please thank Mr. Bad Moccasin for his wonderful song again. Now I'd like to recognize the different veteran organizations of Pierre and their representatives who have come here today to celebrate with us. World War I Barracks and Auxiliary. American Legion State Vice Commander, District 3 through 8. American Legion District 3. American Legion Post 8. American Legion Auxiliary District 3. American Legion Post 8 Auxiliary. Disabled American Veterans, Oahe Chapter 18. Disabled American Veterans, Oahe Chapter 18 Auxiliary. Daughters of the American Revolution. '48 Orchard number 522. American Legion Riders, Pierre Chapter. Oahe Marine Corps League. Sons of the American Legion. Veterans of Foreign Wars, Charles E. Thorne, Post 2038. Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary, Post 2038 Auxiliary. Vietnam era veterans. Honoring those who served in Desert Storm, Afghanistan, and Iraqi veterans. And the Civil Air Patrol.
Thank you, Bill. Ladies and gentlemen, did you see the gorgeous pictures from last year's Veterans Day program in the lobby, which will be hung here in the halls of Briggs? I hope you saw them. Your kind donations last year made this purchase possible and the framing possible. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, ladies and gentlemen, and students at Briggs, a fellow student of yours and his brothers for 7 years have helped put together the electronics, the lights, the background for this Veterans Day program. And I want to call out of the sound booth Mr. Patrick Bollinger for your fellow veterans. Now, could I take a point of personal privilege and recognize all of you in the audience or on stage who are currently serving in the military or have just gone to visit. I know that some of my former pupils and other Riggs graduates and other active duty military personnel are here in the audience and here on stage. Please, active duty military personnel, stand and be recognized. Now, it is customary for the band to play the special songs of each one of the different branches of the service. During the music, I will call out the names of each service, and when I announce yours, stand up for your branch, veterans and active duty. The students here on stage are Hannah Booth, Danny Ullman, Brooke Miller, Carrie Hansen, and Megan Busher. They will lift the flag of your branch. Students, please applaud and cheer heartily for these heroes as they stand up today. The order of the branches is not their traditional lineup, but here are each saluted as the theme song is played by the band. It will be Army, Coast Guard, we might not have anyone from the Coast Guard, Marines, for Air Force and the Navy. Take it away, Mr. Johnson and the band.
Thank you, Ben, Mr. Johnson, student senators, students, and veterans. Those songs and your applause were so exciting to hear again. I never get tired of them. Now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. Our guest speaker is Sergeant First Class Calvin Christie. Sergeant First Class Christie joined the military in 1993. He has been stationed at the 101st Airborne Division in Germany with the 21st Theater Command and is currently full-time with the South Dakota National Guard, 152nd Combat Sustainment Support Battalion. He is deployed to Bosnia and Kosovo, their stabilization force. He is deployed to Iraq in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and most recently in Afghanistan to support Operation Enduring Freedom. He has two sons, Dylan and Dakota Christie. Please help me welcome to the podium, Sergeant First Class Calvin Christie.
World War I was known as the Great War, the war that would end all wars. It shook the world for 4 years, claiming 20 million lives. The armistice was signed on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, and since then, nations have commemorated that event with a moment of silence. That moment of silence punctuates the air and focuses everyone's attention to the service of our veterans across the country and in locations around the world. And those veterans encompass many different kinds of people, serving our countries in many diverse ways. This day is observed around the world and is known by many names: Armistice Day, Remembrance Day, and many others. Where it was once a celebration specifically of the silencing of the cannons of World War I, it now marks a day when nations around the world pause and observe with solemn, silent pride. The heroism of those who have served, those who are currently serving, and those who died in our country's service in that war and in all others. It is not a celebration. It is not a celebration of victory, but rather it's a celebration of those who made up this victory possible. It's a day we keep in our minds of brave men and women of this young nation, generations of them, who above all else believed and fought for a set of ideals. During this Veterans Day, we also celebrate the bicentennial of our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. On September 2nd, 1814, as a prisoner aboard the HMS Surprise, Francis Scott Key witnessed the bombardment of Baltimore. During this bombardment, he observed the flag continue to fly over Fort McHenry throughout the night, lit by the rockets and the mortars of the British ships. As the bombardment ended and the guns fell silent, he would not know the outcome of the battle until the light of morning. On the morning of September 14th, he knows that the bombardment flag had been lowered and a larger flag had been raised, flying triumphantly over the fort, signifying victory. This sight inspired Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner. It's America's anthem, deeply embedded in national history, representing us as a country. That through the worst of times we have held, and we continue to hold, these ideals above our own personal goals, laying aside jobs, comfortable home lives, and our own safety, all for the citizens of this country. During Veterans Day speech, President John F. Kennedy said, "In an age that threatens the survival of freedom, we join together to honor those who made our freedom possible." More than half a century later, we still face dangerous challenges in this unsettled world. But one thing has not changed. Courageous veterans who have demonstrated the courage to sacrifice for the common good. In this time of persistent conflict, they have endured tour after tour in distant and difficult places. They have protected us from danger, and they have given others the opportunity for a better life. There is no tribute, no commemoration, no praise that can truly match the magnitude of such service and sacrifice. We can but offer this humble moment of silence. Silence does not come easy in America. It is perhaps not in our nature to be still or silent. And the world itself is neither quiet nor is it peaceful. Maybe that's why such a small gesture can hold such meaning. A brief rest in the midst of our chaotic existence, a hush respite in which one can reflect upon what truly matters. Silence, like sleep, has a way of healing the spirit. In silence, we are able to feel the depth of the service and sacrifice of these men and women and give them a moment of our full attention as a measure of our admiration and respect. The resilience exhibited by these soldiers, sailors, airmen, and their families is nothing short of remarkable. We work to help those who face the physical and psychological struggles of multiple deployments to become and remain balanced, healthy, and self-confident. They are the best of us. They are the best of our nation. The National Guard family is strong and has remained so for more than 377 years. The South Dakota National Guard has served our state and nation faithfully for 152 of that, dating back all the way to 1862. Our nation is stronger for it. Your National Guard is the strength of the nation, and the citizens, soldiers, and airmen are the strength of your National Guard. And those veterans go on to provide that strength to all the local communities. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to do what you can do to help your veterans. Volunteer in your community. Get involved with local organizations that make a difference in the lives of veterans and their families. Take time each and every day to personally thank those who are serving or who have served. Consider hiring a veteran. Support Yellow Ribbon and reintegration programs like Hero to Hire. 14.5% of post 9/11 veterans, that's ages 20 to 24, are unemployed. They are the future of our nation. Let us all, in a brief moment of silence, honor all the precious minutes, hours, days, and years that our veterans and their families have given to serve this great country. Veterans, both past and current, I ask you to stand. We remember the brave men and women who have served in places such as Cowpens, Antietam, Gettysburg, and San Juan Hill, in the trenches of France, the Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, the deserts of Africa, the jungles of the Philippines, Guam, Okinawa, or Vietnam, the hills of Korea, the sands of Kuwait, the villages of Iraq, and the mountains of Afghanistan. Let's not forget our soldiers, sailors, and airmen currently serving overseas. Let's remember those who, because they paid the ultimate sacrifice, cannot be with us today. In this, our moment of silence, we lift our thoughts, gratitude, and prayers to our veterans. Lift your spirits to their families and speak with your silence. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I please ask you to stand with all our veterans. While it's important and proper that we mark this day with a humble silence, it is far more important we spend all our day rejoicing in their service and reminding ourselves that, because of our veterans, this country still stands. Our founding principles continue to shine. Nations around the world that once knew nothing but fear now understands the blessings of freedom. To you, our veterans, all of you, we say thank you. And like our National Guard has been for so long, we will always be ready, we will always be there. Every time you leave, every time you come home. Happy Veterans Day. Please join me in that short moment of silence.
Thank you, Sergeant Christie, for your inspiring words, and you've got us going right down the right track. This year, as he said, marks the 200th birthday of our national anthem. It was written on the 14th of September in 1814. Here at Briggs, on the Monday after that famous day, we began our morning by all gathering around the flag in the lobby upstairs, and with the drum roll and the full band, we all stood and sang and saluted our national banner. Our Veterans Day program this year will try to continue the birthday party by honoring the veterans who served under her and teach us all who salute her every day with a pledge how this all got started.
Original Star Spangled Banner, the flag that inspired Francis Scott Key to write the song that would become our national anthem, is among the most treasured artifacts in the collection of the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. This is all that is left of her that we can venerate on our trip to D.C. in
specially lighted and climated chamber. She is not near the original size, nor does she have all of her stars or spangles as they once were called. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Tell me, when did all of this begin?
Well, we have to go back to the end of the American Revolution. Britain's defeat at the 1781 Battle of Yorktown marked the conclusion of that war and the beginning of new challenges for a new nation. Not even 3 decades after signing the Treaty of Paris, which formalized Britain's recognition of the United States of America, the two countries were again in conflict. Resentment for Britain's interference with American international trade and impressment of American sailors, combined with American expansionist visions, led Congress to declare war on Great Britain on June 18, 1812.
Yes, the little-known War of 1812. It is well known in Canada, with most Canadian history teachers spending a month or more on it, but history teachers in our country skip over it or cover it in a day. The British Army had invaded our soil, and it didn't look good for the young United States. A new commander came to an outpost that might be able to protect the 3rd largest city in America, Baltimore. In June 1813, Major George Armistead arrived to take command of Fort McHenry, built to guard the water entrance to the city. He needed new flags for his fortress, so he wanted good-sized ones. Armistead commissioned Mary Pickersgill, a Baltimore flag maker, to sew 2 flags for the fort, a smaller storm flag, 17 by 25 feet, and a larger garrison flag, 30 by 42 feet. She was hired under a government contract and was assisted by her daughter, 2 nieces, and an indentured African-American girl.
The larger of these 2 flags would become known as the Star-Spangled Banner. Pickersgill stitched it from a combination of dyed English wool bunting, red and white stripes and blue union, and white cotton for the stars. Each star is about 2 feet in diameter, each stripe about 2 inches wide. The Star-Spangled Banner's impressive scale, about 1/4 the size of a modern basketball court, reflects its purpose as a garrison flag. It was intended to fly from a flagpole about 90 feet high and be visible from great distances. At its original dimensions of 30 by 42 feet, it is bigger than the ones we use today. Would my assistants please show the size of a modern garrison flag?
That's the impressive flag we see down at the American Legion Club. Would my assistants please open the ropes to show us how large the original garrison flag really was? In those days, they added a stripe as well as a star for each new state. But since the bottom of the flag was getting a little unwieldy, we backed it up to 13 stripes to honor the first 13 states. Wow, isn't that an impressive size?
We'll get the general idea of how large this flag was on that morning. Okay, can you guys up there go ahead and stand up?
In August 1814, General Ross and his seasoned troops landed near the nation's capital. On August 24th, in Williamsburg, Maryland, about 30 miles from Washington, his 5,000-member British force defeated an American army, twice its size. According to one story, President James Madison had been with the battle group. He had to escape with the retreating soldiers and spend the night in a chicken coop. That same night, British troops entered Washington. They set fire to the United States Capitol and other public buildings. They also set fire to the President's mansion after eating the meal that had been prepared for Mrs. Madison. It was when we repaired the damage after the war and painted the smoke stains white that we began to call it the White House.
The local militia fled, and the president's wife Dolly barely escaped. But she and her servants were very brave and saved countless government papers and the famous Gilbert Stuart portrait of General George Washington. They just broke the frame and rolled it up in the canvas. Before departing from a ravaged Washington, British soldiers had arrested Dr. William Beams of Upper Marlborough, Maryland, on the charge that he was responsible for the arrests of British stragglers and deserters during the campaign to attack the nation's capital. They subsequently imprisoned him on a British warship.
Friends of Dr. Beams asked Georgetown lawyer Francis Scott Key to join John S. Skinner, the U.S. government's agent for dealing with British forces in the Chesapeake, and help secure the releases of the civilian prisoner. They were successful. However, the British feared that Key and Skinner would divulge their plans for the coming battles, and so they detained the two men aboard a truce ship for the duration of the battle. Key thus became an eyewitness to a crucial moment in history.
With Washington in ruins, the British next set their sights on Baltimore, which was then America's third largest city. Moving up the Chesapeake Bay to the Baltimore, at the mouth of the Patapsco River, they plotted a joint attack on Baltimore by land and water. On the morning of September 12th, General Ross's troops landed at North Point Landing and progressed toward the city. They soon encountered the American forward line, part of an extensive network of defenses established around Baltimore in anticipation of the British assault. During the skirmish with American troops, General Ross, so successful in the attack on Washington, was killed by a sharpshooter. Surprised by the strength of the American defenses, British forces camped on the battlefield and waited for nightfall on September 13th, planning to attempt another attack in the cover of darkness.
Meanwhile, Britain's naval force, buoyed by its earlier successful attack on Alexandria, Virginia, was poised to strike Fort McHenry and enter Baltimore Harbor. At 6:30 a.m. on September 13, 1814, Admiral Cochrane's ship began a 25-hour bombardment of the fort. Rockets whistled through the air and burst into flame wherever they struck. Mortars fired 10 and 13-inch bombshells that exploded overhead in showers of fiery shrapnel. Major Armistead, commander of Fort McHenry and its defending force of 1,000 troops, ordered his men to return fire, but their guns couldn't reach the enemy ships. When British ships advanced on the afternoon of the 13th, however, American gunners badly damaged them, forcing them to pull back out of range. All through the night, Armistead's men continued to hold the fort, refusing to surrender. That night, British attempts at a diversionary attack also failed, and by dawn they had given up hope of taking the city. At 7:30 on the morning of September 14th, Admiral Cochrane called an end to the bombardment, and the British fleet withdrew. The successful defense of Baltimore marked a turning point in the War of 1812. 3 months later, on December 24, 1814, the Treaty of Ghent formally ended the war.
Because the British attack had coincided with a heavy rainstorm, Fort McHenry had flown its smaller storm flag throughout the battle. But at dawn, as the British began to retreat, Major Armistead ordered his men to lower the storm flag and replace it with the great garrison flag. As they raised the flag, the troops fired their guns and played Yankee Doodle in celebration of their victory. Why don't we all sing it with gusto, like those soldiers did that Salve Fall Day, a marching song that made fun of our ragtag colonial army? Yes, we turned that British satire tune into a victory song.
I think we all can sing, can't we? Yeah, Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls we
Waving proudly over the fort, the banner could be seen for miles around, as far away as a ship anchored 8 miles. Yes, 8 miles down the river, where an American lawyer named Francis Scott Key had spent an anxious night watching and hoping for the sign that the city and the nation might be saved. He thus became an eyewitness to the bombardment of Fort McHenry.
When he saw, by the dawn's early light of September 14, 1814, that the American flag soared above the fort, he knew that Fort McHenry had not surrendered. Moved by the sight, he began to compose a poem on the back of a letter he was carrying. On September 16th, he and his companions were taken back to Baltimore and released. He took a room in the Indian Queen Hotel and spent the night revising and copying out the verses he had written about America's victory. The next day, he showed the poem to his wife's brother-in-law, Judge Joseph Nicholson, who had commanded a volunteer company at Fort McHenry. Nicholson responded enthusiastically and urged Key to have the poem printed. First titled The Defense of Fort McHenry, the published broadside included instructions that it be sung in the 18th century melody, Anacreon in Heaven, a tune he had in mind when he penned this poem. Copies of the song were distributed to every man at the fort and around Baltimore. The first documented public performance of the words and the music together took place at a Holiday Street Theater in Baltimore on October 19, 1814. A music store subsequently published the words and the music together under the title, The Star-Spangled Banner.
As a teacher of mythology, I have to ask the question, who on earth was Anacreon? Well, Anacreon was born in 582 BC. Here he is on the left, you see him. And he died circa 485. He was a Greek lyric poet, notable for his drinking songs and hymns to Dionysus, the god of revelry. Well, Anacreon's poetry touched on universal themes of love, infatuation, disappointment, revelry, parties, and festivals. And I don't think I met a veteran last night, or have ever met a soldier that doesn't like to party. Okay? And if that subject matter of Anacreon's poetry that helped to keep it familiar and enjoyable to generations of readers and listeners, especially young university students don't imbibe, do they? Who like to have a drink every so often. Now, what on earth was that song, Anacreon in Heaven? And, ladies and gentlemen, it was a drinking song to boot. So, well, we have some of your classmates and Mr. Bauk. Now, you got some classmates here? Come join us at the table, classmates. We need another one. We need another one. Okay. Okay. We're setting the scene. You see. He isn't 21 yet. Okay. Now, we have some of our classmates and Mr. Bauk to perform it for you. Don't be offended. We've taken a grog shop too. We have taken a grog shop tune and made it into one of the most respected songs in the world.
To Anacreon in heaven, where he sat in full glee, a few sons of harmony sent a petition that he their inspirer and patron would be. When this answer arrived from the jolly old Grecian, voice, fiddle, and flute no longer be mute. I'll lend you my name and inspire you to boot. And besides, I'll entrust you like me to entwine the myrtle of Venus with Bacchus's vine. And besides, I'll instruct you like me to entwine the myrtle of Venus with Bacchus's vine.
During the 19th century, the Star-Spangled Banner became one of the nation's best-loved patriotic songs. It gained special significance during the Civil War, a time where many Americans turned to music to express their feelings for the flag and the ideals and values it represented. There were many other songs, too, that related our patriotism. One of them we robbed from those hated British. But within a century, we Americans knew that the people from Great Britain and her Commonwealth were our best allies. And their national anthem has become not only beloved here in the U.S., but we sing it with our own words, too. Mr. Mickelson will sing one verse of the stately English song we know as God Save the Queen, to honor those brave British soldiers that have fought alongside us Yanks from World War I and still fight beside us today in Afghanistan. What is that patriotic song to us? Well, when he has finished the first verse, we'll all join in on My Country 'Tis of Thee.
Mr. Coverdale, he's got a good British name. Coverdale? All right. All right. It would be very kind of you to stand for this to honor those British soldiers. God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen. Send her victorious, happy, and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen. Now our version. My country is of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's ride, from every mountain side, let freedom ring. Thank you. You may be seated.
Yes, My Country 'Tis of Thee was in the running for the national anthem. But another beloved song was there too. It was America the Beautiful. Last year, Austin Lynch sang beautifully, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? This year, Austin will sing for us this patriotic piece. His father, Lucas, is the Secretary of Agriculture for South Dakota. Mr. and Mrs. Mick had a German university student who was studying agriculture, living with them for 10 weeks, this summer into the school year. Mr. Mick asked Max if he'd like to meet the Secretary of Agriculture if he were in town and available. Max thought that would be grand, so it was arranged. Well, when Max got home that night, he told the Mickelsons breathlessly, "They'll never believe this in Germany, but I got to spend 90 minutes with the Minister of Agriculture, and we spoke of world agricultural problems." That's how things are out here on the prairie. Today, not the minister, but Austin singing beautifully.
Purple mountain majesty.
majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriots' dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Thank you, Austin. But these songs, however lovely, didn't make it. By the 1890s, the military had adopted the song for ceremonial purposes, requiring it to be played at the raising and lowering of the colors. In 1917, both the Army and the Navy designated the song the national anthem for ceremonial purposes. Meanwhile, the patriotic organizations had launched a campaign to have Congress recognize the Star-Spangled Banner as the U.S. national anthem. After several decades of attempts, a bill making the Star-Spangled Banner our official national anthem was finally passed by Congress and signed into law by President Herbert Hoover on March 3, 1931. Many have sung the song, and today we have a special treat. Autumn Shamanik, Miss Oahi, is here from her studies at the University of South Dakota to sing verse 3 of the anthem for us. When she finishes, she will explain her project to us, the Veterans Holiday Relief Drive, and why we will be making a special collection today, which we will share between Autumn and the Legion Auxiliaries Project. Autumn, please let us hear a rarely heard verse of our national song.
What is that?
much. My name is Autumn Shamanik. And a few short weeks ago, I was crowned Miss Milwaukee and given the honor of representing the Pierre area. I am so honored to stand before you today and to be amongst our nation's heroes. I grew up with an immense appreciation for our military instilled in my heart. My great-grandfather, served in World War II, my grandfather in the Korean War, and my mother has been working at the Black Hills VA Medical Center for almost 25 years. Growing up in a military family has given me a deep appreciation for our service members and their military families. It has also given me a servant's heart, and that is why I stand before you today. Here in South Dakota, we have 75,000 veterans, 13,000 who have enlisted since 9/11, and over 7,400 military children. These men, women, and their families face the unimaginable and still choose to give the ultimate sacrifice, sometimes not knowing the next time that they will see their loved ones again. But there is a way that each of you in this room can help give back. I have developed an annual holiday relief drive, which to date has raised over $20,000 in relief items for service members and their families. Today, Riggs High School joins this effort with the American Legion Auxiliary, Unit 8, and the Elks Lodge, number 1953, in collecting monetary donations to help aid those in need. These funds will be used to build buddy baskets filled with household items to help those military members and their families. I encourage you to consider donating or taking a flyer from the lobby if you did not get one on your way in, to find your own drop-off here in Pierre. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you today, and above all, to the men, women, families who sacrifice so much and have given me the freedom to stand before you today and say thank you. Always remember, while all gave some gave all. Thank you.
We're going to pass the hat, and last year, guess what we did? We raised $2,000 for veterans' causes. Right here in this room, $2,000. So, are my hand passers here? Do I have some? All right, here we go. Can we turn up the lights a bit? Star-Spangled Banner a long time, a number of times today. But what I'm going to ask now is that it's time for our history lesson to end and go on by our choir to to honor the veterans who have gathered here today. The chorus, under the direction of Rafag, will lift up their voices and sing Things That Never Die.
The haunting melody of taps closes every day on a military base, bidding all to go to sleep and take a rest. It is played at all soldiers' funerals, bidding them to rest eternally. We close our tribute to the national anthem with those same somber notes. Please stand now, if you are able, through taps.
Well, the United States, we're trying to stay out of a war in Europe, soon to be called World War II. Irving Berlin and American Jews saw the terrible things that were happening to Jews and many others. In Europe, with the onslaught of the Nazi power and Italian fascism. he saw the storm clouds of war building on the continent, and in fervor of love for his country, he asked God to bless America. Ladies and gentlemen, please join with Miss Diane Kerbal and the combined bands for the singing of this, another of our national anthems.
Before we end today, I have a few announcements for the veterans and a small presentation. As you all know, after this program, or as you may not know, down at the American Legion cabin, there will be a luncheon for all veterans and their families. Come one, come all. They said lunch would be at noon, or a little beyond that, but the food will still be waiting for us down there. And at the same time today, as tradition, American Legion Riders will be putting on their chili feed. Free will donation for as much chili as you want to eat. And let me tell you, they have all kinds. All kinds. So be down there about 5:30. Come get your chili. I'd also like to thank everybody in front of us, behind the scenes, those that helped make this program possible. Now, I don't know if there's anything about, any saying about Legionnaires bearing gifts, but as I get these together here, Jay, if you would kindly accompany me to center stage here. The American Legion derives its beliefs from what we call 4 pillars. One of those pillars, back up a little bit. One of those pillars the American Legion believes is called Americanism. And I have 2 entities on this stage who I would like to celebrate their Americanism. One is Mr. Jay Mickelson, and the other is the Capital City Band and the support that they offer us from year to year, whether they're supporting the Legion, whether they're supporting VFW, Disabled American Veterans, in making this Veterans Day program possible. This is one of the best Veterans Day programs I have ever seen. being that this is the 200th anniversary birthday of the national anthem, we felt it would be fitting to present Mr. J. Mickelson, a true patriot from all the veterans of Post 8, with a flag. With that, a certificate of appreciation. This certificate of appreciation is gratefully, but he is great, isn't he? Gratefully presented to Jay Mickelson in recognition and sincere appreciation of an outstanding service and assistance which contributed to the advancement of the American Legion programs and activities dedicated to God and country. American Legion Post 8, Department of South Dakota, signed by myself, Commander Clements. And one more. Actually, two more. I come out with a plaque from Pierre Post 8, American Legion, saying thank you for all you have done for veterans. We truly appreciate the efforts that you go through to make this program possible. And one more item. And for the undying, that's the word I'm looking for. You guys support us, the undying support of the Capital City Band, whenever there's a Memorial Day service, or whenever there is a Veterans Day service. I present this check to the Capital City Band in the amount of $500. It's an honor and privilege to work with these people on this stage, and it is an honor and privilege to be on this stage with the students of this school that support this program. I thank you.
You'll have to get your announcement from school here, kids. Father Griffith will close us with the benediction, and we'll retire the colors. Ladies and gentlemen.
I would like to invite all the veterans and the current members of the military to please hold your hands out in front of you. And with the rest of us, please raise our hands in benediction over them as we pray. For your service, we thank you. For your many sacrifices, we honor you. For your scars, in body or in spirit, we praise you. For your devotion, we remember you. May the Lord in his mercy and love watch over you, for you have served in the past, and those who serve still. May he smile upon you, be gracious to you, and grant you peace. Amen.
Color guard, advance and retire the colors.
stand to. You are now dismissed. Go in peace.